good cause has not been shown, there will be, the court denies the motion to continue today. I will grant a hearing on the medical issues that have been described. I do want to hear the parties out.
After an unprecedented break, 14 months, the judge presiding over the Robert Durst murder trial is ready to get things moving again.
Now, counsel, I intend to welcome the jurors and inquire of them.
Defense attorney Dick DeGuerin argued the trial should be delayed indefinitely because he says his client is in failing health and not getting adequate treatment.
He has chronic kidney disease and is subject to renal failure, which is a life-threatening. He has coronary artery disease that has increased. That puts in that and his AFib put him in risk of a stroke. He is in need of urgent hospitalization. Urgent hospitalization, Your Honor.
He is at the very top of the quality of care that can be given in the system. Now, there's no question that with Mr. Durst, $100 million, he could probably afford the best care at the best hospitals in the world. Unfortunately, he's been charged with capital murder.
California prosecutors have accused Durst of fatally shooting his good friend Susan Berman. Her body was found in her Beverly Hills home around Christmas of 2000. 15 years went by, then this.
Kill them all, of course.
Durst took part in a 6-part documentary called The Jinx. A revealing interview helped investigators connect him to Susan Berman's death. Durst and his attorneys maintain his innocence and claim his remarks in the documentary were edited to make him look guilty.
Bob Durst did not kill Susan Berman, and he doesn't know who did. He did find her body shortly after someone had shot her in the back of the head. He was coming to visit her for the Christmas holidays, which they had done before.
Prosecutors, on the other hand, claim Durst killed Berman to cover up the murder and disappearance of his first wife, Kathleen Durst.
Susan lied to Bob Durst and told him that she had been contacted and planned to speak with the investigators.
Susie Berman said the police are contacting, Los Angeles police are contacting me. They want to talk to me about Kathy Durst's disappearance.
That statement by Susan Berman to Bob Durst that sealed her fate.
Unlike Berman, Kathleen Durst's body was never found. Suspicion fell on Durst, but he was never charged. In 2003, he was charged not in Kathy's death, but another murder, this one in Texas. And this time, he was accused of shooting and dismembering his elderly neighbor, Morris Black. Durst claims after Morris learned the details of his family's financial status, Morris extorted him for money and pointed a gun at him. This led to a struggle between the two. Durst says he accidentally shot Black in the head when he hit the floor, which caused the gun to go off. He also admits to dismembering Morris's body, contending that after the investigation into the disappearance of his first wife, Kathy, he was eager to avoid any added scrutiny. Ultimately, Durst was acquitted.
With the jury, find the defendant, Robert Durst, not guilty.
Since that last trial, Robert has aged nearly 2 decades, and his lawyers say he's too sick to go through a trial. But prosecutors feel differently.
Which in the end is simply a get-out-of-jail-free card, because we would never be able to try the man. There's not 2 systems of justice in this county, one for rich people and one for everybody else.
The prosecutor in this case, John Lewin, is intense, to say the least, and is so deep into this case and knows every fact inside out. The first time around when he gave his opening statement, it took like 3 days to do. So today he gave the jury a condensed version, because they heard the long version 14 months ago, but reintroduced them to the case with a condensed version of his opening statement, which also took a pretty long time. What I'm going to show you right now is a condensed version of his condensed opening statement. Let's take a look.
For some reason, standing here, it feels like I have done this before. I can't quite place it, but it feels like this has happened previously. Obviously, and I'm going to speak up as loudly as I can. If anyone can hear me, please raise your hand. I'll be kind of scanning. This is, without question, this is a new experience for everybody. I have never given an opening statement in the same case twice. And I've never, obviously, gone so long in between. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day, except for it's taking a lot longer. And as I sit here, can you imagine if we went back to, say, the first day you all showed up in January of 2020, and if we put you in a time machine and put you forward, and you came today and you were watching yourselves seated like this, wearing masks, you would wonder what planet, what had happened, etc. It's really been a just whirlwind 14 months or 15 months, whatever it's been. So I hope that all of your families have been safe, and I hope that everybody is going to be able to pay as close attention as they can. As His Honor said, and obviously, and I think both sides are really appreciative. It's taken a lot of work, which Judge Wyndham has had to do, to make everybody safe, to get this courtroom, a real Herculean effort, and the staff. So all of us are extremely appreciative. And we're appreciative that all of you have come back despite whatever personal issues or family issues or work issues that you've all had to overcome. And I'm sure it has not been easy for anybody. My opening statement's about to start. It's just a little bit longer than the first one I gave. So hopefully, all right, I want to see people remember. And no, it's not as long. I'm going to be, but that's hurtful. You don't see you want as long an opening this time. I'm limited to less than 2 hours, and I'm gonna be under that. So this opening statement is divided up two ways. So the first thing is, we're going to go back and we're going to talk about what we expect the evidence to show. So in essence, what that is that means that it's going to be an opening, kind of a miniaturized version of what we talked about before, with the exception that obviously since that time, there's been some evidence presented, the defense has given their opening, so we're not in a vacuum where I go back and we pretend that nothing has happened. So that's going to be the first part. It's going to be a review. It is not going to be nearly as comprehensive as the original opening. The second part of the opening is going to deal with the evidence that you have already heard. There were 10 witnesses that testified over 2 days, and we're going to go through and talk about the highlights of what those witnesses testified to. Thankfully, we had audio for all of the witnesses, so you're going to be hearing audio actually of what those witnesses said. So I'm going to start with what we expect that the evidence at trial is going to show. Obviously, you all know who Robert Durst is, and we believe that the evidence in this case is going to show that he is responsible for the disappearance and the death of his missing wife, Kathy McCormick Durst. We're going to show that Robert Durst murdered his close friend and confidant, Susan Berman. And we're going to show that he did that with the motive and because she was a witness. And by witness, meaning that she assisted him in covering up the killing of his wife almost 20 years earlier. Finally, we're going to show that Robert Durst killed, dismembered, and dumped Morris Black's corpse, his body parts, in trash bags into Galveston Bay in September of 2001. So there's going to be 3 killings that we are going to prove. We're going to prove, even though Mr. Durst is only charged, he's charged with the murder of Susan Berman. He is charged with the special circumstance that that was a witness killing. And in order to prove the witness killing, we need to prove to you what she was a witness to, which means we're going to be putting on evidence that Mr. Durst killed Kathy Durst. We're not going to necessarily or have to prove that that killing was murder. You might decide it was murder. You might decide it was manslaughter. It won't matter for the purposes of this case. What will be important is that Mr. Durst intentionally killed Kathy Durst, and then he covered it up, and then he used Susan Berman to do it. That is what we're going to show. In essence, all 3 of these cases, ladies and gentlemen, are interrelated, meaning that everything starts with Kathy Durst's disappearance and death at the hands of Mr. Durst and Mr. Durst alone, and that after that, he had to kill Susan Berman because he feared that she was going to talk, and then he had to kill Morris Black because Morris Black knew who he was and was putting pressure on him. So that is, in essence, what we're going to show. That's going to be the evidence in this case. We've heard, and you started to hear, and I'll cover it a little bit later, you've heard evidence about who Susan Berman was briefly. You heard it in opening last time. What's going to be important, and we're going to go back to, and we're going to have you examining, and we're going to be discussing, what was the motive for Susan Berman's murder? In other words, what happened? And what we're going to be able to show is that the motive for Susan Berman murder, her murder, was not robbery or burglary. How are we going to show that? By the way, can everybody hear me? Is there anybody who cannot hear me? Seeing no, I just want to check with Corporal Rona. Are you able to hear me okay? Great, okay. So, how do we know, ladies and gentlemen, that the motive for this murder was not robbery or burglary? Well, we know because there was no forced entry into the home. The windows were locked and unbroken. The back door was found wide open. There was no ransacking. There was no struggle. Nothing, in fact, was taken that day other than Susan's life. Her purse with credit cards, with ID and cash, was on the kitchen counter. The evidence is going to demonstrate that burglars, robbers, they take items. They don't just walk in and execute somebody and leave. Very importantly, and without question, the evidence is going to prove that Susan Berman knew her murderer. How do we know that? Well, because you're going to hear evidence, you've already heard a little bit of evidence, I believe, that Susan was extremely security conscious. She always locked everything, to the point that she was paranoid. Susan had a lot of phobias, had a lot of just personality quirks, and one of them was personal security. So the idea that Susan would have opened her door to a stranger and let them in the house, by the time this case is over, we're going to put on evidence where you're going to come to the conclusion that that is absolutely not what happened. So, what else do we know? We know that she always locked everything. And we know that because there was no forced entry, that means that the killer had to have been admitted into the house. We further know that upon entering, and this is extremely important, Susan turned her back to her killer. Now, the one thing, if there is such a at least less worse side of being brutally executed by your best friend, is that the evidence clearly will demonstrate that Susan Berman never saw what happened. She never knew it was going to happen. She let Mr. Durst in. She turned around because she trusted him, because he was her close friend, because he was not somebody to fear. She turned around, she took a few steps, and he basically blew her brains out. That's what he did. Now, we also know that the killer, whoever they were, and I'm taking that, I'm just moving that aside for a moment. I'm saying even before we look at the evidence against Robert Durst, we know that whoever that killer was wanted Susan's body to be found. How do we know? Because the killer left a note, what's been commonly referred to as the cadaver note. And that was mailed to the Beverly Hills Police Department. And it was found prior to Susan's body being located. So meaning, because her body is in the house, that the only person who could have sent that note had to have been her killer.
Again, a great opening statement in terms of laying the case out, but it is long. I mean, even the condensed version today was so long that the defense did not have an opportunity to go, so their opening statement will be tomorrow. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the next live trial here on Court TV. We'll join Chanley Painter, who's live in Iowa tonight, talking about the case of the man accused of murdering Molly Tibbetts. Okay.